Oh boy, are you guys excited for the new Wolverine game that's gonna be exclusive for PS5? I sure as hell am not, really, which kind of given the more obvious context where I don't own a PS5. I prefer to actually own a PC over PS5 or any other console, like. But I do think like Wolverine when it first came out, and I do think it's like one of the few interesting games that I would actually keep my eye out until I just really find out that PlayStation is not going to be releasing the game to be coming out on PC because they're going to make it going back to exclusivity. And honestly, that's fine by me. But it's as long it's like PlayStation can do something about it to make things play experience much more better until they drop the ball where they just do not do any production for the disc anymore. And that's where like I want to talk about. Wolverine game has been getting like a lot of slander around the internet for the longest time. And I do say some of them are kind of unjustified hate, but for me, some of them are pretty kind of justified hate actually. And because some of this situation actually kind of involves with the developers to talk about like their own game that it's just like blaming onto the wrong thing and not understanding this real situation they're actually being presented. Because Wolverine game was actually got like showcased with like a boss fight where like you're fighting against the Sentinel. Like apparently people are complaining that like the Sentinel boss fight is like similar to Ben 10 boss fight, and like it's the same thing with other big boss fight. Personally, I don't really care about like those kind of style. I think it's actually cool, which is kind of old school. There's no problem with it, but at the same time, I think I know the reason why people are complaining about it, and I do think it's because of PlayStation and also the developer behind the Wolverine game. Because one thing I really do love about the community is that sometimes I did mention this before, where like the internet is very negative. Like the place that we would try to talk about something about the things that we like are being bombarded with by the people who don't even like the things that we like. But this is a gaming situation where like sometimes people complaining about the game specifically tends to actually happen because we agree to one another. And really, Wolverine game is definitely a situation where like I have to actually keep my ground being gray instead of being black and white, because most of the time I kind of understand both sides, but sometimes to one side go a little bit too extreme and they don't even understand the situation as well, but the other side who actually caused the problem didn't seem to be actually understanding the problem that's being presented. Like, let me give you a brief situation, okay? PlayStation. We all know how PlayStation has become over the years. PlayStation has become one of the few companies that actually did destroy the goodwill of what they have for the consumers, and now the consumers are actually literally banging their heads on the wall against the PlayStation wall. Literally every post from Twitter, from PlayStation official account, literally being uploaded every single moment, just being bombarded every single moment of Twitter posts, of comments of people of like, no this, no buy, no this, no buy, because people were actually tired of dealing with the same shit of PS5. They have price increase for their consoles. They have literally quality control that doesn't actually even being presented by people that we wanted. They prefer to have Marathon over Destiny. That's why they actually make Destiny to stop actually being supported on PlayStation. Somehow they also blew up $400 million on a Concord game that we never asked for, even despite that we have been begging for having some of the remix of their old games to come alive, and somehow they say like we didn't hear that before, I don't know what you're talking about. And then PlayStation is being like all blind and also shocked at the same time and confused why they are the like the quote unquote victim of the situation. It's weird and stupid from PlayStation to actually think they are like doing the goodwill, doing the God's work. And really, you guys, like consumers who bought PlayStation stuff, should actually have the right to be mad at PlayStation for a long period of time. I don't mind that. I don't think that's a problem at all. You guys are rightfully to actually hate on PlayStation. You guys are rightfully to actually voice out your opinion and your rights for owning a disc and whenever you buy a console. Because especially with PlayStation, they do not actually have a reliable reliable server, because they also actually experience outages, which is sucks because people can't even play the game when the PlayStation is being offline. offline, especially when you the game that you pay for. You can't even play it offline. That sucks. And now going back to the Wolverine situation, where Wolverine, the game itself, people were not well. At first, people were actually really excited for Wolverine game. People were really extremely super duper hype about this game because PlayStation looks like action packed, gory, like the game that makes you play feel like you're playing Wolverine. You know, IGN would actually have a nut bust of a bomb. I don't even know what to say. Sorry, I'm trying to give out something really funny here. What I'm trying to say is like even IGN would be really busting their own nut right now when I say that you can play like a Wolverine and you feel like a Wolverine. But but as time goes on, with the situation with the PlayStation that's being dragged out because PlayStation seemingly to actually ignore all the problems and decide to actually upfront with just more news so that they can actually get the real situation being cited, which players are not actually trying to put that one aside at all and still putting the papers in front of Sony. And now like Wolverine is getting a lot of like hate because it's from PlayStation exclusive. And now people were actually realizing that it's the same game as a previous game that Spider-Man game has ever made. There's nothing new from PlayStation. There's nothing really interesting that makes PlayStation being unique. There is nothing interesting or all to spend or close to $1,000 for a console anymore, especially when it game prices that cost like around $70. And yeah, you can argue that like you have to play the game first, then only you can comment about it. But like I think there was a quotation from Legendary Drop. Nobody is going to actually pay you $70 just because they want to actually tell you the game is good or not nowadays. And I think that's a really good quotation. I'm not gonna willing to spend $100 just to tell you that the GTA 6 is good or not. I'm not gonna do that. But I do think that, like, in certain extent, that the game of Wolverine can be considered to be beloved. I know for sure there's gonna be a lot of people liking the game, but at the same time, it's PlayStation we're talking about. The people who actually do not know how to actually service their own consumers with goodwill. They don't know how to do a good intention. They don't know that. Sure, Xbox is not probably different, but like at least they're trying to do something with more games. But PlayStation fundamentally really just ruins it for everyone else. And I do not know if there's going to be more news from PlayStation that's just going to turn out everybody's experience. But Wolverine game, I really do think that Wolverine game should never be getting hated because like I do wish for every game to be succeeded, especially when like it's Insomniac, but when there are clips that's being shown in the Wolverine game where like you're just running a hate straight and you're not actually even taking any damage at all from everyone else that's shooting at you, it just tells you a little bit of like there's a subtle subtext going around in this modern days of gaming nowadays. And personally, it's not great. It's not actually good. I just feel like what happened to the good old days where like the game felt like it's just passionate to actually let players experience the hardcore truth of playing the game, to at least make them interactive, like more interaction with the game. And then like I recently played Gears of War 1 Reloaded, and it makes me feel like I miss the good old days playing the older games like Halo, Gears of War, Bulletstorm, Prototype. Those are the jams, the games where like you can just like sit back and just be interactive however you are, not just being in a cool cinematic moment, but like it's just pure fun cinematic moment where like you're not being restricted behind a couple of like exclusivity. And like when especially like they're not stuck to one platform. They're like you can play in multiple platform to some certain cases of some games, but they're also pretty affordable prices for you to play for. Like some of them are $10, $15. Hell, you could even get like up to $5 if you actually got a good discount for some of these games. And I do miss those good old eras of the game. It's because like I do think like I'm trying to say that no game should ever be developed like for $300 million just to be priced at $80 price tag, just to call it justifiable price for a 10-hour campaign playthrough of a game. I don't think that's actually cool, personally. But yeah, PlayStation slander with alongside with the Wolverine, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, yeah, I completely forgot to talking about the Insomniac, the employee, the coworker, the marketing guy did actually commented about like how this Wolverine slander is unjustifiable because they blame it on the algorithm. Again, I just don't think that actually matters because like when someone agrees and someone share it and someone else agrees with the point they're making, at that point you should at least acknowledge that there are some people acknowledging that these are the problems that you guys do not actually acknowledge. And because of you blaming the towards algorithm, people are gonna keep on bashing and pouring more oil into the fire. Even you yourself actually putting more oil into the fire. When I mean yourself, I mean the marketing dude from the Insomniac team. It's dumb. I just think it's like really, really dumb from like PlayStation and also developers not understanding the problems. It's sad, especially when it comes to Wolverine game because it does look like a pretty fun game by to some certain degree. But when the game comes out, I don't know. Maybe the game will actually work out very well at the end. Maybe the game would actually, be as fun as it looks. But for a $70 game, that's really hard for me to be justifiable, man. But I would love to talk more about Phantom Blade Zero because Phantom Blade Zero is a game that I really, really would love to dig my teeth into, man. Which I will make a video separately for that. Alright, that's it. I just want to yap about it because it just came up from my FY in my recommended by Legendary Drop. I will link to you the Legendary Drop original video. He actually inspired me to talk about this whole entire thing. But yeah, hope you have a lovely day or have a lovely night. Sayonara, Sarkers. Peace.